this coming of age for Malaysia, saying that we've become a developed country. But guess what? We're 2016 today. That's 4 years from now, 2020. It's no longer 2 decades' time. It's no longer in 10 years' time. It's no longer even in 5 years' time. We're around the corner from 2020. So if we don't start a conversation now about what happens beyond 2020, then we will not have this collective target, a collective signpost for which we go beyond. We won't be able to have this collective discussion, this debate, this consultation amongst ourselves as to what kind of country do we aspire to become after 2020. What happens after the next 20, 30, 40 years? Have we achieved every single challenge that was laid before us when 2020 was announced? So, in fact, there are key challenges that we need to talk about today. Now, firstly, our wage or income per GDP is at 33.6%. If you take into account income, wage, salaries, it's 33.6% of our GDP. That's way below Singapore, which stands at 43%, 46% for Taiwan, and 52% for Japan. That means our wages, salaries, are still far too low for us to become a high-income economy. Our dependence on commodities has started to show its impact. What do I mean by our dependence on commodities? We're highly dependent on oil and gas in terms of government revenue, for instance. The free-falling price of oil over the last few months, which dipped below $30 per barrel recently, has impacted government revenue and thereby government spending for the people. Programs have been cut, services have been scaled back, and this is a big impact on us. Our worker productivity value is worth 44,000 ringgit annually, lower than Hong Kong and lower than the United States. And our annual growth of productivity is at 4.5%, lower than countries like Indonesia and India. So what it is that our incomes are still low. Productivity is also still low. And we're excessively dependent upon commodities still to drive government revenue. So these are economic challenges that we must try to confront, overcome, and ultimately solve over the next 10 to 20 years. Now, the world is also globalized with limitless information, a symptom of the knowledge economy, something that we have not fully embraced. And therefore, the challenge that we face beyond 2020 is to transform our country to one with high productivity, high wages from low productivity and low wages, which previously supported our industry boom. I mean, previously, we were the factory of the world. We didn't have to have massively high productivity because we only had wage-based competitiveness. We would market ourselves as a country where you can come, you can invest, and you can enjoy labor, which was relatively cheap, and you can set up your factory here. In short, we have proven that we were, at one point in time, a great factory for the world. Now, it's time for us now to change all of that and show that we can become a great laboratory of the world. Not just a factory where you set up shop, where you exploit cheap labor, where you exploit cheap utility bills, where you come and assemble things that have been designed other places in the world, but we want Malaysia to become a laboratory of the world, where indigenous design, where people design things here, where people conceptualize, design, and where we market things from here, indigenous technology. And that's really where we want to take Malaysia. Now, considering all this, how do we take the step into reshaping Malaysia to become a high-income, high-productivity, and high-knowledge country? Now, this requires a proactive approach from all levels of society, from the government right down to the young people like all of you in this room. But for this evening, I'll be touching on 5 different sectors. In 5 different sectors, these are not the only challenges that we face over the next 20, 30 years. There are things that I won't touch on, that I won't talk about, that are equally, if not more important. For instance, climate change, energy efficiency. These are things that are pressing issues over the next 50 years. But I want to talk about 5 sectors which I feel are very, very important for us to create a strategic outlook as to how we're going to tackle these 5 sectors. And what choices we make within these 5 sectors over the next 10 years will be crucially important to what happens to Malaysia over the next 50 years. Now, first is our economic structure itself, of which we should move beyond a commodity-dependent economy towards a knowledge-based economy while building a generation of world-class entrepreneurs. Secondly, restrict I want to make sure that we are able to reform human capital and education, where we should celebrate the different pathways to success while making critical thinking skills as our key performance indicator for the entire education system. Third is how governments, or the government's role in developing our young people, harnessing the energy of our youth. Fourth, our social fabric and our quest to look for that elusive Malaysian identity. And fifth is the importance of politics in shaping our direction post-Vision 2020. Now, out of that five, first is that we need to move away from our dependency on commodities such as oil and gas and mining. We have successfully reduced our dependency on agriculture to 3%. Previously, remember just now what I told you, we were agrarian economy. Now we've reduced that to about 3% by 2014. But the impact of oil and gas on our economy is still big. About 1/5 of our GDP comes from the oil and gas sector. And this is a warning sign that we need to move away from this and move more towards knowledge industries and other services industries. If we continue to be reliant on this, when oil prices go down under $30 per barrel, we're in a lot of trouble. Every single US dollar reduction in the price, global price of oil per barrel, roughly translates to a reduction of 100 million ringgit in government revenue. So that's how much we've had to reduce in terms of government spending or in terms of other revenue that we've had to offset to make sure that we can still deliver on the budget that we presented last year. Two cost-benefit analysis that were done by PwC and ISIS on the Trans-Pacific Partnership also highlighted the potential negative impact on oil and gas and palm oil going into the future since we've signed on to the TPP. So we need to start ensuring that we can grow other services industries and not just be reliant on commodities as far as government revenue is concerned and as far as economic growth is concerned. The second major change to our economic pillar is the need for us to inculcate an entrepreneurial spirit amongst Malaysians. Become entrepreneurs, develop more entrepreneurs, encourage entrepreneurship, especially amongst young people. We have to admit that we have spent a lot in terms of money and commitment in fostering our entrepreneurial ecosystem with mixed results. It's not that we've not paid attention. We used to have a ministry for entrepreneurial development. We have so many entrepreneurial development agencies in Malaysia giving out loans, giving out grants, giving out training, giving out support services to young people, to people who want to become businessmen. We want to make sure that through R&D and through training, we enhance entrepreneurs. We have EDAs, as I said earlier, entrepreneur development agencies everywhere at the federal, state level, some focusing on specific industries, others on specific demographic groups on entrepreneurs. We provide training and guidance for budding entrepreneurs through multiple ministries. And although there have been some success stories, the spirit is still not well ingrained in our society, especially young people. We have the second lowest rate of early stage entrepreneurial activity rate in the region, showing how low the appetite for venturing into business or startups is amongst young people. In this region, we have a very, very low interest of young people who want to go into business.